What's going on, everybody? Off the Mike Sports Network here. NFL Week 9 had some interesting results. I'm kind of withholding my opinion about the Cleveland Browns situation because they're on a bye. Nothing's really going on. And then I'm going about my day. And, hey, Bears and Bengals, who really cares? Bears are okay. Caleb Williams has been kind of up and down this season. Bengals are kind of just treading water. They did just lose to the New York Jets. And I was getting ready, actually, once I saw how this game was going late in the game, that the Bears, late in this game, were up 41-27. And this was about 2 minutes to go in the game. I think 400 plus yards in the first half or through three quarters. I can't even remember for the Cincinnati Bengals defense that, by the way, brought over the defensive coordinator from Notre Dame, brought him to Cincinnati, Al Golden, and it has not gone well. And I understand Joe Burrow's not playing. So then the Bengals come back, proceed to score 15 points, get a 2-point conversion mixed in, get an onside kick, and they lead 42-41. And then they proceed to let the Chicago Bears go down the field, 4 plays, 72 yards in 37 seconds. Colston Loveland makes an unbelievable play in between defenders, and the Bengals can't make a tackle, and the Bears win 47-42. Before I illustrate my point here of where I'm going with this, if you've already seen the, thumbnail and whatnot, you kind of know where I'm going here. In this game, the Chicago Bears, if you add on that 50-plus yard touchdown at the end, I mean, even that, they gave up. The Chicago Bears in the Bengals, by extension, gave up 576 yards of total offense in this game. 576 yards. This Bengals team gave up. Nearly 600 yards of offense. They had 500 yards before that final drive. If you go back to the previous week at home, let's even go further down the total poll. They gave up 39 points to the New York Jets. Let's look at this here for a second. Let's while we're at this. They gave up 502 yards of offense to the New York Jets, who had not won a football game prior to that week. That's embarrassing. Now, the easy solution is fire Al Golden. Fire him. Who's the guy who hired him? Who's the guy who has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? I understand that he doesn't have Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's hurt. Who had this team in the Super Bowl? Who was the coach of that team? Listen, anybody who's followed this channel knows that I am not a big Zac Taylor fan. He's a nice guy, seems like a nice guy, did some really good interpersonal stuff in terms of that aspect of coaching during the whole DeMar Hamlin thing a few years ago. But outside of that, and, he's won some games over the course. This guy's not a good coach. And this should be the nail in the coffin for Zac Taylor as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. To lose back-to-back games, giving up 1,000 yards of offense to the Jets and the Bears at home. Look, Al Golden, that's low-hanging fruit. Zac Taylor cannot coach another game for this team. The Bengals are 3-6. I understand, but you gave hope with Joe Flacco, and maybe I'll have to entertain the whole Joe Flacco conversation and how that's a referendum on Kevin Stefanski. But if we're talking specifically about the Cincinnati Bengals, and I talked about this last year when I think they started 0-3, and then they were able to almost make the playoffs at the end of last season because their talent, at least at the top tier, is some of the best in the NFL. That's how I really grade. Yes, the roster, and this could extend to Duke Tobin and also to Mike Brown about how they formulate this roster, where, you have an exceptional top 4 players on your team. You've got Joe Burrow, the quarterback. You've got Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end. I'm not going in particular order. And then you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins at wide receiver. Outside of that, man, there's nothing on this team that really just wows you. mean, they brought in, no offense, Yosivas is a good receiver, Chase Brown's a good running back. I mean, outside of that, man, there's nothing on this team. So that personnel is kind of an issue. But when the difference between them and a terrible team like the Cleveland Browns or even the Jets or the Tennessee Titans is they have maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I understand he's gotten injured. You've got one, two, or three. Take your pick on Jamar Chase, where he is in terms of NFL wide receivers. And T. Higgins is the best number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. I'll give you the number 1 in a lot of other places, but he chose to stay in Cincinnati. How this team is 3-6, regardless of who the quarterback is, considering Zac Taylor's an offensive guy, and then the hires that he has made. He didn't move off of Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, until last year. He brings in Al Golden, and now in back-to-back weeks, the Bengals have surrendered 500 yards of offense to the Jets and the Bears. And what? Almost 100 points between those two games, 39 to the Jets, 47 in this game. And if not for a crazy sequence at the end of this game, they are getting their asses blown out. The Bears melted down and gave them a gift to give them a chance to be back in this. And Joe Flacco is a professional quarterback. And it's much better for him now that he actually has people to throw to. And, personnel and people that he can trust. And some marginally better blocking. But if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you have got to be at your end with Zac Taylor. And I don't know how they can justify going into another week with Zac Taylor as the head coach of this football team. I just don't know how you could do it. I don't understand how you could go through another week in the NFL when you have to go to Pittsburgh, you have to play Cincinnati, you're at a Baltimore team, you're at Buffalo, you got Baltimore again, Miami, which you should win, and then, you've got Arizona and Cleveland at the end of the year. You were lucky to beat the Browns in week 1, missed extra point, missed field goal at the end of that game. But they are potentially staring themselves at looking at maybe a 5-game, at maybe a 7-game losing streak potentially here. I would get out in front of this now and just end it. Unless they want to just ride this thing out and see if he could string together potentially a couple more wins. Steelers is a tough task. Patriots look like a really good football team. They got to play Baltimore twice. They have to play at Buffalo. Like, holy mackerel. And they're 3-6 already with losses at home to the Bears and the Jets in back-to-back weeks, giving up nearly 100 points total and 1,000 yards of total offense. Zac Taylor cannot stay as the head coach. It just cannot happen. They've got to move off of him. Even at 9 games into the season, there's no reason to continue this. Because I just listed you off the next 5 games. How many wins are you guaranteeing in that stretch? 1, maybe 2? 1, maybe 2? And at that point, is Joe Burrow even going to even consider coming back in December? The season's over for the Bengals. They tried it with Jake Browning. Then they threw a dart at the wall and hoped that Joe Flacco would work. He's thrown for some yards, but they haven't won anything. They won 1 game against Pittsburgh. Cool. What did you get the next 2 weeks? Jets and Bears. Blew those games. And then only for the Bears letting you back into that game, and then you gave it right back because your defense can't tackle because the coordinator that you hired isn't hacking it either. Wholesale changes for a team that has so many talented players on their roster. Like I said, this is a mess in Cincinnati. This is a mess. The Browns, at least with the Browns are a bad football team because they have horrendous personnel. To be a bad football team dealing with injuries, but you have two all-world receivers and an all-world defensive end, and you can't figure out how to stop teams or, win football games, that is a problem. And yes, it's easy to blame Al Golden, the defensive coordinator. Come on. This is all Zac Taylor, and I've been saying this for years, that this guy should not be an NFL head coach. God bless him. Seems like a nice guy. He's not an NFL head coach. The Bengals should fire him, and they should do it. Hopefully, I may not. Hopefully, it happens within short order at the time that this video is processing. Who knows? But we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much. I'll see you guys. Bye bye.